Hey, what's happening? Come with me. Let's check this out. Guys, today I'm going to take you out and paint a picture of heritage misery. Let's do this. Hey, what's happening? You know, it's amazing what you come across when you start digging. I'll take you to a little place of sadness, just for something different. You'd probably be surprised what was here. Let's check it. You'd think it was an empty paddock. Well, it kind of is an empty paddock. But having said that, it's actually a cemetery. 1851 to 1858, anybody who died in the township of CRESWICK was buried here. That's what they say, man. Buried here. It kind of feels cemetery-ish too. They've sort of got like they speak to you or something, I don't know. You can feel it. It's just a paddock surrounded by houses, but it is on the fringe of the bush, and back in the day, it was what they called 200 yards from the township. I mean, even looking at the ground takes on that cemetery shape in most places that you go to where they say there's been burials, but not here. This ground, this landscape has absolutely zero, and I mean zero, signs of any sort of burial. There's no sinkholes, there's nothing that would make you think that anybody had ever been put in the ground here. The ground's been disturbed somewhat. I do see there's a lot of quartz. Check this out. There's a lot of this quartz rock. It's not a surface rock, it generally comes from the depths. But that doesn't mean much in a mining district where everybody was frolicking, like everybody's using a pick to crack the surface. Doesn't mean anything finding this in these districts. But there is a lot of it, you know. Does that mean that that was dug up while they were digging graves? I don't think so. That's just significant of these mining districts as a whole. But I've sort of looked, I've been right around the perimeter, and I absolutely can't see anything that makes you think that this was any kind of cemetery in any way, shape or form. So we're only going by the history books on this one. They say what they say, but this is where it all took place. I mean, once again, if we could do that time travel thing, the sadness of people burying little kids in that here, man. Like some families buried multiples here, one after the other, smacking them down like dominoes. That's horrific, man. The sadness that took place right here. If we could travel in time, I think we would really, really, really be brought to our knees with tragedy here. Right here, Australian goldfields. I find myself pondering a lot on this kind of stuff. I call it the rabbit hole. You probably heard me say that before, but it's a rabbit hole, man. Like you turn up at these joints, and the dogs next door don't like me being here, I don't think. Yeah, they're going crazy. But anyway, you turn up at these joints and you find yourself pondering and wondering on like where the boundaries were, where was the perimeters, what happened here, like how come I'm not seeing what I thought I'd see, you know? Out the back, which I'm about to show you, it really paints a picture of something from that time. I mean, it's overgrown with bush, but you can definitely tell by the landscape that it was barren, hard man's country. Check this. I was saying about boundaries. Well, this, let's call it a plot of land. This plot of land is fenced off, but the fence looks like something that you would see around a 1980s schoolyard here in Australia. I reckon that the council have just cordoned off the area, maybe for some historical preservation significance, I don't know. But we can only go by what we can see as a boundary. But it wasn't what they called a gazetted. I think I'm saying that right. They called it a gazetted cemetery, meaning that it wasn't official. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like a professional sort of a deal. Like there was no permits, there was no arrangement of graves. The dead were just brought here and placed here. And that was it, man. That was the end of the story. In latter times, they found 2 headstones here.
They read as follows: to the sacred memory of William H. Taylor, who died April 1855, aged 13 months. And the second headstone read as follows: erected by John Bowden to the memory of his beloved uncle Edward Bowden, late of Redneth, Cornwall, who was accidentally killed by the falling in of a drive on the 19th of November 1854 at age 34 years.
That was it. The rest was sort of lost to time. Most people didn't even get a marker, no headstone. Rough times, man. I'm gonna put the list of people that are known to be buried here on the screen right here. You can pause it and ponder on it.
I thought I'd just add in this, this is a dissection of numbers based on each year. So if you look at each year, the tally up under each year is the age groups and deaths respective of age per year. The numbers are pretty staggering. Here's 1855, there was 52 children under 1 year old buried here. Wow.
But the houses off to the perimeter here, they wouldn't have been here. This would have been just a hillside on the outskirts of town, and it was just where they brought people to bury. That sounds sort of rough, but that's how it was, man. Like, they just brought them here, plonk them in the ground, and move on. From what I can see, the majority of people put here were young, like really young, like a lot of children that didn't even get to experience life. They died during childbirth. A lot of mums that died during the birth process. Aside from that, there's probably like guys in their 30s and 40s that died in mining accidents, poisons. I mean, there's 1,000,001 ways to die, as we all know, but back then, your chances were, well, they were kind of stacked against you. Nearby to here, there is a creek. Something worth noting too, I always find that these areas are always close to creeks, and the reason for that is that creeks had gold. Gold, that's what brought everyone here, man. That's why they were here. They weren't here because they loved the place. They were looking for gold. Gold brought them an opportunity of a better life. Unfortunately, that life was bought with death for most. But I'm going to take you and show you the creek that's nearby. I think the significant thing about the creek is that is where the very early settlers congregate. That is where they would have washed, bathed themselves, not only themselves, their clothing. That was their laundromats, that was their shower room, whatever, but that's how they were, man. The creek is literally a stone throw from here. I could almost sprint to there. I'm not that fit, but I could sprint to there. not going to do that. I'm going to walk there. So let's get to it, man. Let's go and go for a little walk this way, and we'll see if we can find that creek. I'll show you where I reckon everyone was hanging out back in the day. 1851 to 1858. Let's go and see what we can find over there. All right, so remember when I was saying that I could run there, but I'm not very fit? Well, I could have. There's the fence line of the old burial ground. And a short way, right here across the road, here's the creek. Now, I don't want to bang on about the creek too much, but the point being, the early civilizations all depended on water. Everything's based off that. No water means no deal. And there it is. You'll find throughout history that no town that I've come across sort of gets built on no water. There's a creek. I'm gonna head up here to the bridge. There's a placard up there on that bridge. I just want to go and read it and just see whether it's got any relevance to this story. I don't think it does. But we're gonna go up there and check it out anyway. Let's go for a walk. Let's go this way. It's a good day for a walk anyway. It's definitely hot out. Temps have been around 34, 35 Celsius here in Australia at the moment. It's, what are we in? It's January, it's still January, nearly February. I try to get out and do all my shenanigans and adventures in the mornings, because if it gets too late in the day, I don't know, your brain doesn't work too good when it gets real hot. And country Victoria here in Australia, it gets real hot. Real hot. Desert hot? No, not really desert hot. But yeah, we have some issues with the heat here, that's for sure. Like, it definitely, about 6 weeks of the year, generally, we could get heat waves of 35 to 40 degrees. Anyway, enough of all that. I've nearly made my way up to this sign. It's probably going to tell me nothing. Anyway, that was a bit of a bust. It was some story about some little boy named Norman who used to wag school under this bridge back in the day. This is pretty rude. Check that. Old school bluestone bridge. No water in the creek. I did tell you it had been hot. Definitely been hot. Yeah, she's bone dry, man. Still got some bluestone in the bottom, check that. And when the trucks and traffic went over this bridge, it didn't move. It didn't move an inch. Some of them old bridges moved real bad. This one didn't move an inch. Normally they shake and tremble up really badly, but yeah, that one didn't move at all. Old school bluestone, eh? But yeah, definitely a drought happening here. Definitely a drought. It kind of gets me thinking about what it would have been like back in them times. You know, with people dying all the time. Like, it must have been a real regular occurrence. History reads like it was a real regular occurrence. It kind of looks like it was too. Like, when you look into it, I mean, I don't know how many children there would have been in a place like this, but it seemed like every second one of them was dropping off, like dropping like flies, so they say. Must have been horrific, you know, even for people that didn't have children, like the townspeople in general, like, you know, continually hearing the stories of misery coming from people that, you know, people that had to bury their kids, man. Even if they weren't burying their kids, what about people burying their parents all the time? Like, they're young, like burying dad and he's 34. What the hell? Yeah, I ponder on that stuff a lot, man. Like, it's definitely a rabbit hole to go down, and I don't know that we'll ever get the true answers from that, but you know, you read up on this stuff and it, none of it really reads well at all. It's all pretty sad, and we're drawn to that though as people, don't you reckon? You keep looking for it, like you don't want to read it, but you keep looking. It's, yeah, it's very intuitive. Is that the word? I don't know. All right, from what I can read up on this hospital opened in 1863. So it was of no use to any of the people that were buried where we were before. The parcel of land was gazetted, in their words, not mine, gazetted in about 1860. So it was a 5-acre parcel of land that was set aside for this hospital. It was of no help to any of the sick, injured or dying that were laid to rest where we were before, but this is how the hospital looks to this day. I'm no expert. I'm going to keep my voice down a little bit in here. It is an operating hospital. These buildings are not from that time. I don't know what year these were built. Maybe the hospital grounds. Maybe the hospital grounds have always been, you know, set aside since 1860 or whatever, but these buildings aren't 1860. They're not even restored from 1860, I'm pretty confident. These look more 1950s maybe. Check it. They've got that shotcrete stuff on the walls, terracotta tiled roof. Definitely not 1860s by a long shot. Even the outpost buildings aren't from that vintage. To be honest, I'm not seeing anything here from that vintage except the gate. The gate is definitely from that vintage. The foundries were kicking out some amazing work at that time. Here. Again, this building here, that is not 1860s, it's not even 1880s, it ain't even 1900. I would say at its oldest point, it's probably like, yeah, 1930, 40, maybe. 1940 at a stretch, yeah. It's a tiny establishment in here. The literature that I read up on said something about a 5-acre parcel of land. Like maybe it goes beyond, I'm not going to snoop in there too much. I've only gone in the public area. But yeah, I'm not seeing anything truly historic or old in there. Anyway, point of my story is this place here was of zero help to any of the dead. Back where we were at that burial ground earlier, zero help. It arrived too late. So the dates are all lining up pretty good. This here, CRESWICK Cemetery, established 1858. That was directly after the last burials took place at that deserted paddock, let's call it. This was the official legalized burial ground. Interesting, bit uncanny, but interesting too. The paddock where we were earlier, it turned out to be very rich soil for gold. And because it was not an official cemetery, there was really nothing stopping people digging around there trying to find gold. And whilst it might seem disrespectful, unrespectful, people didn't care, man. Like, if there was cash to be found there in the ground, we're digging it up. And that's supposedly exactly what they were doing. Frolicking around looking for the gold. So this here became the pro official burial ground. Something else that I noticed, the gates, they are almost the same style and design as the hospital. Interesting. Probably the same foundry, and the old school gates around this perimeter fencing is pretty wild. I mean, this is some pretty serious cast, you know, solid, man, like bluestone base, bracings, all heavy cast. Yeah, it's pretty wild. Anyway, this story is not about this cemetery. I just wanted to show you that it had been replaced. We'll do a quick lap in here and then we're out of here. Okay, I've got to be honest, I'm a little surprised with the size of this. It's really big. I mean, I can't even see the entrance. The entrance is way back down here somewhere. I don't even know where, but it's way down there. It's far from full too, don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of burials, but what are we talking, 1858? 1858, what's that, 166 odd years or something? 166 years, I think. How's me maths? Don't know, have to look that up. But in 160 odd years, I mean, this area over here, man, at this rate, at the rate that we're going, they could probably do another 166 years and still not fill it at the rate that they're putting people in here. It's all irrelevant. I just wanted to show yous. I literally just wanted to show yous what the replacement cemetery actually looks like. CRESWICK's got a massive history. It is very significant to the establishment of early Australia. I guarantee there would be some very colourful characters and some stories buried in amongst here. I'd love to go over them all, but that's future videos for another time. The moral being, I just wanted to show you what the original cemetery that we looked at migrated to, and this is where it is. This was the legitimised legal cemetery. I don't know where the oldest graves are, 1858 being the year of its beginning. I don't know where they are. I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of trying to look at them all. 1907, so that's getting on a little bit. I'm just going to cut that there for 1 second because I can't help myself. To the memory of Thomas Brenort, native of Guernsey, who died at Rocky Lead, February something 1861, aged 32 years. Also John T something, he died in 1863, aged 7 months. Nephew, I reckon that's gonna say. Nephew of the above named. Yeah, so this guy and his nephew, but 32, obviously died in a Rocky Lead. Rocky Lead would be a mining accident, 32 years old. 1861, so the cemetery had been running for 3 years when he was put here. So them old slate style headstones are generally the oldest ones. The marble ones and that were a later model innovation, but them early ones like that, you do not see many of those. There are not many. Australia's too young. So to see one like that thing's a masterpiece. It almost should have a like an encapsulated cube or something, like a glass, I don't know, glass something over it. It needs protection anyway, because another 100 years at that rate, you won't be able to read none of it, man. Look at that thing sticking up out there.
Now back to the video.
You know, we got another 47, 49 years prior to this. They're in here somewhere. But like all cemeteries, none of them are paradise. This one's laid out really nice, it's still cared for, but just an amazing amount of dead land. But this parcel of land here, look at that space. I mean, over there is, up over the other side here, up over here, on the other side of these monuments poking up, there's a lot of vast land over there. Yeah, it is surprising how much land is free. It's like they allocated way too much room, like they could have filled this one up, which could have happened 50 years ago, and then moved on to another one. I guess they don't want cemeteries everywhere, but as we evolve, that's going to happen anyway. Anyway, I'm rambling. If you've watched for this long, I appreciate you for bearing with me, and thanks for the views, man. I appreciate it very much. It's humbling. Don't forget to subscribe, give me a like, give me a share, send me to your friends, follow Facebook, follow the Instagram. There's always something quirky getting flipped around those social media pages, so get on there, and I'm sure I can entertain you in the off moments of your life. But yeah, till the next one, stay cool. Cheers.